Hey everyone, a new school year approacheth. And with that comes a very important question that I am asking and inviting all of you educators out there to answer alongside me. How do we help students take an anti-boring approach to their own learning this year? This is a video series in which I'm going to be unpacking the 10 characteristics of an anti-boring educator that help unlock students' willingness to be anti-boring themselves. But in this video, we need to talk about this word, anti-boring. What does it mean and why do I use it and how did it come about? So let's dig in. Alrighty. So I came up with the word anti-boring on a fluke, like almost anything that comes to my creative brain. And I was trying to explain to many of my teenage clients, I'm an academic coach, or was for a long time. I was trying to explain to them how I can't make school fun for you. It's just not possible. I'm not even gonna try. But I can teach you how to make school not boring. And that will increase your motivation, your willingness to get more active in your learning. And it will also, by being anti-boring, help you increase your grades. And many students did want to try and get better grades. So the word anti-boring came out after so much repetition with client after client, teenager after teenager, the statement, I can't make school fun for you, but I can teach you how to make it anti-boring for yourself. But why anti-boring? Some people have accused me of being really negative in some of the languaging that I use. Like, why anti? Other educators at a school that I worked at recently thought I was accusing the teachers of being boring, and they took offense. And no, none of that is true. But let's unpack the word anti for a moment and anti-boring. So teenagers, I don't know if you've noticed, but teenagers tend to be, they skew negative, right? And I noticed that when I was a teenager, I wanted to be against. I wanted to resist. I wanted to rebel against whatever the adults around me told me. And in fact, we've been talking about this in my Anti-Boring Educators Club. Gretchen Rubin has a book called The Four Tendencies, all about different approaches to motivation. And one of those approaches to motivation is called the rebel. And whenever any of us in my Anti-Boring Educators Club gives a teenager the quiz to figure out what their motivational tendency is, guess what they come up as? A rebel. And we've been talking about, are they actually rebels, or is it the brain state and the emotional state that they're moving through right now as people who want to individuate and want to find their group, their tribe, but individuate from the adults around them? Maybe that's where the rebellion is from. Regardless, teenagers seem to trust a rebellious statement more than a positive statement. So when I did try to say, come on, I can help you have more fun, school can be more fun, they were kind of like, no, I don't think so, Gretchen. It's no way it can be fun. But if I say, well, is it boring?
Oh yeah, it's boring.
What if there was a way to be anti-boring? And what if, no matter how good or bad your teacher is, you have the power inside you to make choices to make it anti-boring? Would that improve your experience of school? And usually the answer was absolutely, yeah, it would. Great. So let me teach you the anti-boring approach to powerful studying. That's what I called my framework for study skills and time management skills in the early days. So teenagers get bored, right? Teenagers like to be against things. I have a little whiteboard here I'm referring to help me with my notes. And then the question is, how do you take responsibility for your own boredom or lack thereof? That's where taking responsibility for your learning comes in, and where learning how to be an active learner comes in. That's how I intended the word boredom when I initially came up with the phrase. But the more I've worked with students and the more I've worked with educators who work with students, I have now got to test these ideas in thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And I've noticed that there are a couple more reasons why the word boring is actually a really powerful word to be using when we're talking about school and schooling. The first one is that boredom, my trusty whiteboard says, is actually an approach of our emotional systems to oppression. I want to say that again. Boredom is actually a potentially healthy, I would say, approach to being in an oppressive situation. Now, not in every student, not in all situations, but I do want to link boredom and oppression. Many students feel bored at school because they are oppressed into an environment they haven't chosen, that isn't built to be good for their bodies and brains and their systems, and that they don't see a clear motivational link for being at. And so that dulls the system. We get bored. So the word anti-boring is actually a liberation-oriented word. How can you figure out how to liberate yourself from an oppressive institution and schooling situation, even if you're forced to go to it right now? Now, many students I have worked with, I have actually tried to encourage to get them to take alternate approaches through school. Community college is a fabulous, fabulous option for many students. And my clients have chosen not to go with it. They have said, yeah, but I want prom, I want my ball games, and I want all the things. It's like, great, then no, you are choosing it. You are no longer oppressed. You are choosing it. So the oppression conversation is useful, and it's also useful for teenagers to just have an adult acknowledge that school, the institution of schooling, is actually pretty oppressive. It's nice to have adults tell us the truth sometimes, isn't it? So there's something else here too. Boredom is a nervous system response to stress, where I don't know if I'm fully accurate on this, so if you happen to be a nervous system expert, please comment, but where our system pushes through fight or flight and into a freeze state. Many of our students who are bored in school are actually in a nervous system freeze because it's not safe for them to be in their life or at school for a variety of reasons. And it's really important for the adults who work with these students to understand, to have an oppression lens and to have a nervous system lens and understand the freeze state, how to identify it, and how to support students in coming out of the freeze state. These are all things we talk about inside the Anti-Boring Educators Club that I lead. And in this video series, over the next few weeks, we are going to look at 10 characteristics to embody as an anti-boring teacher or an anti-boring coach to help students, and this is the most important thing, right? To help students take an anti-boring approach to their own learning. I can't wait to dive into all of it with you, and I will see you in the next video.